Okay, officially kicking things off. Welcome to the August Your Way workshop. I cannot believe that it's already August. Welcome to those of you who are here live, especially those newcomers, as well as all of you watching in the replay. We're doing this session just a little bit differently than normal. I'm recording the very beginning, and as always, we'll record the ending, our wrap-up session, where we'll share our takeaways and lessons learned. So tomorrow we are kicking off a live session of the finishing project. And this is a class that I developed a number of years ago now, and I've taught it a number of different times, different ways, different locations. But we're doing a live session inside of our membership starting tomorrow. And we followed a number of our creative team members and members over the past few months to track their stories. And so Carol Ann is here tonight. And I just have a couple, just personal questions for you about your experience. You already heard her story by email earlier this week. Tomorrow you will hear Natalie's finishing story. And it's just been so interesting to see the nuanced experience. You all went through the same course, yet you had different types of challenges, different reasons for starting or wanting to finish your project, different barriers, and different tips that you picked up to find your way through. So Carolyn, could you start by sharing why you wanted to finish this project? Why was it important to you?
Oh, it's been important because it's a high school album for my daughter, and she was graduating this year. So I wanted to have it done ideally by the time the last of her graduation parties would occur at the end of June. And then that didn't happen. So, I wanted her to have a keepsake to take with her to college if she wanted, of her high school years. So it was a time frame. She goes off to college in a couple weeks now.
And how does it feel that you're finished with that? I mean, we were on live chat when you kind of had the moment I am done.
I am done. Yes, it was a personal relief to me that I had accomplished something special for my daughter, because she means a lot to me. Both of my kids do, but it's each daughter had this album of their high school years. But really what was more important was when she saw the album a couple days later, and she was thrilled. That was yes, I did it right.
Yeah. Well, that's such an amazing experience when we can finally share our work with someone else, and to see that, it kind of validates all the time, energy, and heart that we put into it.
Yeah, it was I don't remember this. Oh, I remember this. And then she started talking about things, and it's that's what a scrapbook's about. You look at pictures, and sometimes you remember things, sometimes you don't, but then you start talking about it, and then you remember more, and you tell more stories. And that's what I got to experience with her.
That's terrific. Now, do you have an idea what you want to finish next? Or are you taking a break for a while?
Well, I was going to take a break, but then I remembered I thought I had finished an album, and I didn't. So I've got a South Dakota trip album, a trip that I took with my kids and my girlfriends to South Dakota in 2011. So that's the next one to finish.
Fun. I've been out there myself, so it's a fun trip to document. Well, good luck with that. Are there any tips from the finishing project you'll use for that project?
I'm definitely going to do a rough draft of the possible layouts, the thinking about the overall format. That was probably one of the better things that I did, because even though I made an outline with Rachel's album of all the topics I think I wanted to hit, I really didn't need to hit all of them. And by going through and doing her album, I came up with other things that were more important, stories that were more vital to the overall story I was telling. So it was a really good springboard to get me thinking about things, and also felt good just checking things off.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and so often once we get journaling the emotional stories that maybe don't always even have photos attached to them, those are the things that you want to capture. And maybe you can just use any photo to go with it.
Yes.
But those are the things that come out, and other things that maybe were more tangible, was a milestone or something that had a date. You think of, oh, that's important, but then in the end, maybe it's just part of the story, but it's not the part that you necessarily want to pass on and remember forever.
Yeah, like my daughter's 18th birthday, 18th birthday, but my thought initially was big layout. She's 18, she's an adult, blah, blah, blah. It wound up being more of a story about how we found this recipe for pot stickers, and she wanted pot stickers for her dinner. And we made these pot stickers together, and what a cool experience that was. And that was, I think that was more important than the you're 18, you're an adult story.
Yeah.
I initially wanted to tell.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for letting us follow you and kind of doing a peek behind the scenes. We really appreciate it.
Sure.
So before we jump into our questions for today, does anybody have any questions about the finishing project, how the class works? So it's available inside of the membership, but as all members know, we have a huge number of returning members. So folks join for a period of time, something goes on in their life, they go away, they come back, and they always want to come back because we have such a warm and welcoming community. So you can join us for the class, see if it's a good fit. And if it is, I hope you stay. And if not, that's okay. You can come back another time for another type of activity. You guys are very quiet tonight. Well, definitely let me know if you have any questions. You can pop in the chat box at any time, even when you're in, I think your other group. I think you can still chat with me directly as well. But yeah, what's going to happen here is that I will assign you to small groups to have discussion on our theme for this month with the simplifying projects. And of course, we have this kind of finishing spin to it. I did post the link to the agenda in the chat box, but I'll quickly review our questions here. So the first one is, what is your typical process for starting a project? And how do you develop that idea and kind of get organized to get started? Like, how do you really get into it? Number 2, what are your most favorite and your least favorite parts of a project? And is there a place you commonly get stuck or bored? And then number 3, what is your favorite shortcut, trick, or hack for simplifying a project? Like whether it was a way that you started from the very beginning to make it fun and simple, or maybe even kind of a course correction that you took along the way in order to get that project done. So throughout all of this, I want you to remember to kind of share generously of your experiences. As I said in the beginning, I won't be recording your individual conversations in these small groups, just this full group session here. And also to stay open to new ideas. We have a healthy mix of both paper and digital scrapbookers here, hybrid scrapbookers, project lifers, folks who like to make photo books, lots of different experience levels here. So just stay open to maybe figuring out what those messages that people are sharing, how they can apply to you in a maybe new and different way, because we can all learn from each other. So I will use this little automated process here to send you guys off into breakout groups. But before I do that, do you have any questions about how that's all going to work? And we have many returning Your Way workshop attendees here, and they're often really helpful to make sure you know how to figure out the ropes once you get in there as well. So, okay, got these breakout rooms here. All right. And we have about 10 minutes per session. We'll come back here, kind of briefly reorient you, and then send you off into brand new groups. We'll do this for the 3 rounds, and then we'll come back here at the end for our final conversation. Good luck, folks. All right, welcome back, friends. So before we jump into our conversation, Monica has joined us now, and she is one of our case studies as well. So I'm going to ask her the same questions I asked Carol Ann, which are the first one, why was this project important to you to start with? Like, why did you want to finish it?
I would love to finish a lot of things, but this one is one that my husband was asking for. And my husband rarely spends much time looking at or being interested in any of the stuff that I scrapbook. My kids pull them out occasionally, and I think they'll like it. But he actually was asking for this a couple of times. And it kind of was like, okay, I really need to put this. I need to find a way to finish this. So it became a number one priority.
All right. And now that you're kind of well on your way to almost being done, how does it feel? Like, are you glad you took the time to follow through the process?
I am. I'm really glad that I took the time. First of all, I like the idea that I will have this finished. It is a much larger project than I realized. The biggest project I have ever done, and I've done some big travel albums. I have learned a lot about how I want to do others in the future, and also how I will approach travel. Now, I haven't traveled to see if I'll do that, but I realize that a lot of the things I take pictures of because I think I should take pictures of, I'm like, and why? When I go to a museum and I look at a bunch of art, unless something speaks to me and I want it, or there was a reason to look at it, right? Like I could get excited about Michelangelo's David, right? And I could do some pictures about that. That was something to be able to see in person. But to see a bunch of Rembrandts, I mean, I've seen those at a bunch of places. They don't really mean anything to me. So why take the photos, right? So,
well, it's also so much more interesting to take photos of sculpture than it is to take photos of paintings.
Yeah, that's true. And I have more photos of sculptures. I think I felt I needed to cover it. Like I think I was going into it thinking like I need to cover all this stuff.
Oh, sure.
It makes no sense because you can look it all up. In fact,
correct.
If I find a photo that's close, but I think better online, I'll use the online photo.
So how else do you think you might approach travel differently going forward? Besides like what you're taking photos of and kind of the storytelling approach?
I think I'm going to try more of what you kind of call the photo book, where I kind of do the collages. I may still throw in a few stories that I take more time to scrapbook. I think part of the issue is when I first was doing this book and the pictures were fresh in my mind and I scrapbook whatever I want for the most part, and then I try to go back and fill in. I was really excited. I was new into figuring out, oh, this is my style. I like what I'm doing, right? And so I was taking that on, and so I had done a lot of pages that were more scrapbooky, more with my style. But then all of a sudden I realized, okay, well, I'm done with that. But I'm going to print a book. So once I print it, I'm not going back. And so I needed to fill in the story. And eventually I got to the point, and it's good that I saved a bunch of sections because it won't be obvious at the end that I got to this point, because there's some middle sections that are similar, but they're not nothing, but they're more collagey. They're more just facts. We saw the Pantheon, right? And here's the information about the Pantheon, and here are some pictures. And so it was easier to narrow down when I got to the point where I just wanted to show that we went to the Pantheon. What are a couple of pictures that fit on a page that show that, right? I just want to show that we went to the Uffizi Gallery, right? What are some ones that I can put on there? So
for sure, because sometimes so much the stories of your trips are the personal stories of what's going on for you and the relationships, and whether you were tired or excited, or you know, all the things that are happening that you're not taking photos of. That's the story that you want to write. But you still don't want to lose the fact that you went to these places. So it's being able to combine those all together.
Yeah, there's the stories, and then there's the documenting.
Yeah.
Right. What are the things that you took pictures of
that
you feel like you want to say that, yeah, we went and we saw that, but beyond that, we've been there, done that, right? And so I've just decided it's okay to just throw those pictures on a page with this is where we were. And I've been putting in some of the information. Why is it important to go there? Why did you go to the Pantheon? What's important about it? Because I think that's something I will enjoy looking back through when I see it, reading about the Pantheon, because I'm not going to remember all of that over the years. And I'm not going to look it up at that time. I'm not going to Google it or whatever it is we're doing 20 years from now. So I just, Wikipedia is my friend.
Well, we have like a chip in our arm by then. We can just like talk to Alexa in our arm, probably.
Yeah, I heard something about glasses with augmented reality. So
yeah,
that's kind of
Nobody will travel because we'll all still be stuck at home.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like they said there wouldn't be any bookstores or libraries either because everybody had it on ebook. Who would need a printed book? And my children at 20 and 22 both prefer a printed book.
Sure.
So.
All right. Thank you, Monica, so much.
Yep. Happy to help.
So you heard her story in today's email.
That was cute. That was well done. I like how you did all that.
Oh, thank you. All right. Let's jump into our wrap-up discussion. So tell me, what were your takeaways? So just to recap the questions, your process for your projects, your most and least favorite parts where you get stuck, and your favorite shortcuts, tips, and tricks. Who wants to go first? If you prefer to be called on, you could use the raise hand feature, or you could just unmute yourself and start talking.
I'll dive in here for a sec. Mine was at the very last second of our last question. I was like, oh yeah. So we were talking a little bit about how some projects need the whole 9 yards and some don't. And so being able to pick and choose which projects you're investing that kind of energy and time on versus the ones that maybe you get the job done and it doesn't really need all of that. And I think that's kind of where I'm at in kind of developing the maturity of my scrapbooking approach so that I'm not always trying to I think early in my career, I thought I had to treat everything equally. There was some sort of fairness game going on in my head that, if I loved everything equally, then I would treat it all equally. So I've done a lot of more simplified projects in the last year to 2 years, and I think that's benefiting me to getting some things done.
I love that. And I love the idea of your process maturing over time and kind of growing into it and learning really what works for you. I mean, that really echoes back to what Carol Ann said. If you guys saw, I posted on Instagram too, her quote of, it's not favoritism to do your child's scrapbooks differently because they have different stories. That's even for all of our stories. The stories are different, and the story will lead you to what the project should look like. I know sometimes we go on a trip, my husband just wants to see the photos. Like, he was there, he doesn't care as much about my words. And so some of those they can be pure photo books, and he's totally happy that we have them. He can share them with others, and we're good. So, all right, what other takeaways you guys have?
There seemed to be a general consensus that planning out the project ahead of time, if it is a project that's worthy of a bigger time investment in that, planning it out, getting an idea of what stories you want to tell and what pictures you're going to use to tell those stories and what memorabilia you might want to include for those stories, and just kind of getting that all out there before you make a single page so that you have a roadmap to then complete the project along the way.
Yes, I love that so much. It helps. Whether your project is big or small. Even, you just want to make a series of layouts. You're doing some challenges for a crop, like plan it all out, gather your supplies. This past weekend, I made 2 layouts side by side at the same time. I cut the papers for both. Then I stamped on both. Then I had the embellishments to both. And then at the end, I had 2 pages done. So I maximized my time doing it that way. All right, what else?
I would say for me, the advantage too of having a framework from the beginning is when I do kind of stuck or slow down, I find it really energizing to okay, let's reassess where I'm at. Is there anywhere I'm going to make changes, or like where am I in this process? And I can reevaluate it from there. If I need to make changes, I can, because I know where I'm going. Or if I just need to do a bunch of batching, and then I can move forward. But at least it gives me. We read Elise's book, Big Dreams, Daily Joys, I think. Is that what it was called?
That was January of this year. Can you believe it? That was this year.
She talks about assessing it, have a day, okay, I'm going to go back and see where I'm at. Because if you don't have any way to kind of track it, I guess, then I feel like the end feels really far out there, and you're just wandering until you hit a wall. And so if you have a way to kind of check in, I think that helps you keep moving forward.
For sure. Yep, I like that. Also the check-ins, like if you're doing a check-in not only with yourself, but having the accountability with others really helps as well. We kept hearing that in our finishing stories. We see that every single day inside the community. We have people posting their own kind of accountability projects, whether it's to do, Alyssa did her own low to lay out a day in June, or people doing the 100-day project, whatever it is that you're into right now, just posting publicly provides that accountability for you to make sure you're moving forward, because we will check in on you. All right, what else do you guys want to share?
Well, I had an aha moment when Monica was speaking, just relating to her feelings about travel, and I just suddenly realized that I've been guilty of what she was describing. It can be just so exciting. If you're somewhere new internationally, it's very, now, right, in retrospect, it's like, wow. But a couple of years ago, my husband and I went to Barcelona, and when I think about those photos now, I'm like, oh yeah, I was just taking pictures of everything, because I just thought this is all important and I need to document it. And also I'm just excited, and, and now, it's been a few years, and it's like, okay, I'm a paper 12 by 12 scrapbooker. And so I kind of just keep going. Like I haven't really been like, I'm done with that now. So I still am like, well, there's still photos from Barcelona, but it would be nice to sort of be like, I'm done with that. I've done all of those, but there's so many pictures because, and I never do this, but even when we went to the art museum, I just took pictures of like random art because I just was excited. Yeah. And so, but now I'm thinking, I don't even want those. Like, why did I take them? So that was a good kind of epiphany moment for me, both in terms of finishing the Barcelona trip documentation, but then also thinking about, okay, when I'm traveling in the future, like, just being a little bit more thoughtful about, well, how do I want to remember this? What am I, just more deliberate with the photos that I'm taking.
Well, I think sometimes when you feel like you're kind of lost in the continual, well, there's more and more photos, you can stop and ask the question of like, what are the most important stories do I still want to document from this? Even without, like, don't even look at the pictures. Just say, okay, I'm here, I'm looking over here. What do I need to make sure is in here? And then use that as the reference to see, okay, what have I documented of that? And then what do I need to pick next? It's kind of similar to in the new travel guide that I released last month, this idea of the top 10%. Like, what are the best things that you want to include rather than trying to pick the 90% that you are going to exclude? Because we'll never be able to pick that 90%. It's just too hard. But you can pick the top 10%. But I totally get you. 50% of my photos from Paris are from paintings inside the Louvre. And, those are all online on the internet, and probably much better photos than my 1.2 megapixel camera took at the time. So,
well,
I hear ya.
And not to harp too much on the travel theme, but, I have been working on this travel album from my trip to Europe last year. And when I was thinking about what stories I wanted to tell, I realized I had a bunch of photos of the museums and the art we saw. And like, I had 0 photos of me and my dad together, who I went on the trip with, which was sort of a big deal. And so It was sort of like, well, I really messed that up because, there's no evidence that he and I were actually on the trip together. And part of that is because he doesn't like having his picture taken. So
yeah, that's hard too sometimes.
But it was like, we were in this place together. And then I also realized how few pictures I had of actually me in the places. And it was like, well, that was just like, can we have a do-over so I can take new pictures?
But you have a lesson learned. You can still capture the stories, the words, which is why you're a scrapbooker, not just a personal photo taker, I guess. And then, you also have a lens by which you can adjust your future travels, whether those are, near or far.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess, can I share a different takeaway from our conversation, or
Sure.
Are we still on this topic?
You're good.
Okay. In terms of just one of my takeaways tonight is because I am a project finisher. But what helps me and where I don't get stuck is because I plan it all out. That gives me the freedom to not have to work chronologically or in a specific order. So I don't get bored because I can hop around to different parts of the project because I have a master list of where I'm going and a vision. And so I can just kind of do what sparks my interest and not, get bored in the middle or stuck because I have a very clear plan of what needs to happen.
Yeah, that's what I learned from the finishing project is I need to have a slightly more detailed plan from the layouts I want because I do like to jump around. And Amy kind of, I don't know, the way she put it out, it made sense to me. I'm like, oh, right, I can do both. So yeah. That's my next one. We're going to try it again and see what happens.
I think that's a really important observation about the way that you behave. So even if you have a list, it's not just about making the list, but understanding, are you I have to do it in order person, or are you like, I want to jump around and do what I want to do next person? Because I'm the type of person, if I have a deadline, I'm going to find 2 or 3 more things more interesting to do before the deadline, but then I have like 4 done in the end because I still have to do the deadline thing because it's always about what I want to do next. So it's a really important observation. Thanks.
Yeah, so when I've been making lists of the projects I've started of all the layouts, included in that project. And then when I finish that layout, I highlight it, whatever one I finish. And it's kind of a nice visual because I can see like if there are 20 layouts and I've got like 5 done, or I'll even like highlight them in yellow if I've got the materials picked out. And then when they're finished, I highlight it in orange. So I can see which ones are like started and then which ones are completed. And it kind of gives me that like little bar like we have on our computers that's like, okay, 50%, 80%, and it kind of keeps me motivated because I can see, oh, I'm getting closer. It doesn't feel like I'm never going to finish.
I love that.
But I just started that like this year and I'm really liking it. So
anything you can do to like visually track your progress can be very motivating.
And then I will say,
I want to share this just a second, Kim. Jennifer, I want to include this in the conversation. Jennifer Norton suggested to Alyssa to Photoshop a photo of her dad together to tell the story that they don't have any photos together. That'd be pretty fun. All right, go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I was gonna say, as far as like the whole like shortcut hack concept, we talked a lot about like limiting either like your design choices or your supplies. So just to like eliminate some of that decision, like you've decided, Betty Lou talked about how she would choose like a variety of templates. She'd have a vertical option, some horizontal options, some multi-photo options, and then she would just circle through those. And they all looked different because she was using like different papers and photos and stories, but it just made it easier to get done. And I do that too.
Yeah, repetition. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Any final thoughts here? Well, thanks, guys. This has been super fun. For all of you who are members, I hope to see you in the finishing project. If that excites you, if you're not yet a member, I hope you will join us. We are kicking things off tomorrow inside the classroom, and then Friday night we'll have a special kind of the official kickoff crop back here on Zoom, where I will be kind of working through the beginning exercises for my own project that I'm going to finish. But you guys are going to help me do that. Our very first poll will be inside of the community tomorrow, and you can tell me which project you want me to finish alongside of you guys. So that'll be fun. Pick the easy one, please. I'm a little scared. Maybe I don't want you guys to pick. But yeah, I'm going to let you guys vote. I did post a video, and I'll include a link to that as well, of the 4 different projects that I'm considering. So that's on Instagram right now.
Would you do one of ours?
Can I do one of yours?
That's the monthly winner.
I like
I have a question, Jennifer. Are they 4 projects that are in process, or are you including anything that you haven't even started?
They're all in process.
Okay. I feel like there's some people here that might not know what that's like, but I know what that's like.
See if I can include the link. Here, I'll put the link real quick here in the chat. So if you want to get it before we get off, make sure you hop over to the chat. It's an Instagram IGTV video I just posted earlier today with the 4 projects. So, yeah. But yeah, they're all in progress. They're all slightly different though. There's December Daily. There's a Traveler's Notebook. There is a my daughter's baby book, the pocket page portion of that, and then there was, I put them all away. I think it was my 2015 to 27 rearrangement of pages. I actually kind of already started on that one. So. But anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you to all of you watching in the replay as well. I will see you guys again next month. Next month's theme, Kim, can you help me with this? Is it Use Your Stash, I believe? Yes, for September, Use Your Stash month. So we will have a session of Stash Bash inside the membership. That's going to be fun. And we're really just focusing on digging out that old parts of your stash, whether it's physical or digital, and having fun with it and getting some pages made. So. See you guys and have a great rest of your month. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.